All right, welcome to Afton Woodworks. I'm going to do a review of the Sawstop Contractor version. There's not a lot of YouTube videos out there about the benefits and the pros and cons of the Sawstop Contractor version. Most of them are on the PCS, the cabinet saw. So I'll explain why I got this version instead of the PCS, because I always thought I'd get the PCS. Two, I will talk about some really frustrating things about putting this thing together. And then I'll talk a little bit about what I've done to rig it up to dust collection. All right, so let's start with why I got the contractor version instead of the PCS. So the contractor version is pretty standard. I had a rigid contractor saw for 19 years. Ironically, I went back, found how much I paid for that thing, and it was $450, and I just sold it for $250. 19 years of use for $200. But I need a new table saw for a couple reasons, which I'll explain. A contractor saw has the motor hanging off the back, okay? Whereas a cabinet saw typically has it hanging off the side, left or right. The reason I need it to hang off the back is because my router table sits in this wing, okay? So I wanted to drop this right back in, and you can see here, it sits there. If there was a motor there, it would not fit. So that was the reason I got this. The reason I got a Sawstop as a whole is the fence on my old table saw was just, it would not be true anymore. And when your fence is not true, completely parallel to the blade, it can create a very dangerous kickback situation, which I had happen once. Ripped through my apron, ripped through my shirt, caused a little, drew a little blood, okay? The other reason is I really wanted some strong dust collection. I've really been focused on dust collection in my recent tool purchases. I bought a lot of Festool products, which are crazy expensive, but they do a phenomenal job of dust collection, and that's why I went with the Sawstop. Dust collection, obviously the safety feature, which if you type in Sawstop in YouTube, you're gonna see 1,000 videos of the hot dog scenario. I'm not gonna do that, but as you guys know, if this blade, and this is turned off right now, if this blade sensed flesh, it would the brake would grab it and pull it down instantaneously, and you might have just a nick, maybe slightly worse. So I like that. And then lastly, so the fence. So safety, dust collection, and a new fence. Because I thought about getting a new fence for my old table saw, but it wouldn't have the safety brake, and I tried so hard to get dust collection to work on that thing, and it just did not work well. So for dust collection, we've got two ports here. We actually have one coming out the back, which is a plastic hood inside. I can't get in there and show it to you. That does a good job of grabbing the dust, or at least I hope it does. I haven't used this much. A shroud down in there that will do a good job of grabbing, hopefully, the dust and extracting it. In my old table saw, I did put an aftermarket overarm on it, and that helped. So I wanted to get this as well, and we'll see how that works. My old table saw was so old that it didn't have a riving knife. So that's now standard. I think it's mandatory legally that you have a riving knife on the table saws. Okay, so the frustrating part of this, there's numerous very frustrating parts. This table saw, when all said and done, is probably $2,800, maybe $3,000. And I'll tell you why. One, I didn't want the metal wings, okay? So I had to buy an extra metal wing. I already had this one, okay? So that's $130, okay? Then I wanted the mobile base, okay? $160. Then I wanted the over-the-arm dust collection, $200. But what they don't tell you is on the PC or on the contractor saw, you have to get this extra metal piece down here. I think after the fact I realized that I probably could have jimmy rigged it and saved $50 and not used that, but I wasn't going to take this whole damn stand apart and return it, okay? Then in the final piece, when I'm all ready to go, I realized that the $200 I spent on this didn't include that. Another $140. So the over-the-arm dust collection was $200 plus $50 down there, so $250, plus $140, it's $340, $390, call it $400. I think that is outrageous to the point where I don't mind paying for quality. You know, I bought Festool products. The parent of Festool now owns Sawstop, but I just felt like I was getting ripped off, right? That they were just gouging me for no reason. This part, this plastic hose, this metal here that comes around, this tubing, this metal tubing, these pieces here, and this plastic, that can't be $200. That's outrageous. And then to turn around and say, oh, by the way, it doesn't include the guard. You got to buy that for an extra $140. Why would I buy this if I didn't want to do this? Outrageous. So from a consumer standpoint, I just feel like they're gouging me. So be that as it may, I'll leave it at that. The other thing I did not like, and I put that stand together. So you put the stand together. I was smart enough to put the base on. And when I went to put the 140-pound box that holds the, you know, the trommel and the motor and all that, when I went to put the trommel or the motor on, the holes right here, you can see I've got a washer right here. The holes in the stand, when you bring these legs in and you put it all together, it doesn't make a round hole. It's kind of oblong. So you're reaching your hand in from the back, trying to put the bolts in, and you can't get them in. I finally got them in with the help of my son. And didn't have the rails on, right? So it's just this piece. And I knew I was going to have a problem. And of course, the height of this plane did not meet up with my custom workbench. Okay, I knew that. I knew that was going to be an issue. I was going to take the time to lower it, and I may still have to, just a little bit. But I thought, you know what, let me take it over to the MFT table. Again, the parent of Festool now owns Sawstop, okay? This table is about 3/16 lower than the MFT. And there's no way to lower an MFT other than cut off the legs. So I was just irate. Between the quality issue of that, of the stand mating up with the actual saw, and the fact that this wasn't standard, I called them and I complained. And the guy that answered, lovely guy, I get it, said, yeah, we know the stands, you know, the holes sometimes are an issue, etc. Okay? He did say on the height, you know, it is what it is. And I kind of get that, right? But you would think if these guys are owned by the same company, I would have hoped that this and this would have been the same. So what did I do? I actually took it apart and I added a 2x4 rim between the stand and the actual saw box. And when I did that, I drilled out those holes. I said, enough of that. I took a bit and I drilled that out. So now when I put that in, of course it was much easier. This surface now almost meets up with this. I need to do a little bit of adjustment. I think I need to raise the feet up here. And you can raise the feet. Somebody's gonna post an article or a comment below. Says, well, you can raise these feet. Sure you can, but you can't raise them that much because with this mobile stand, you cannot raise it that much. If you raise it too much, this only lifts it up just a slight bit. Look at that. That is raised now, okay? So you cannot unscrew those that much. So I did do that. I added that. which I'm happy with. I painted it black so it blends in. But the next stop then for the height is, of course, these legs they're too short, right? They're about 1.5 inches, 2 inches too short. So I had to go to Home Depot and get some 1¼ inch by, let me zoom up here. 1¼ inch tubing, cut it, drill it, and add that in, which turned out just fine. I painted it as well. Okay, now let's talk about the router table. So I've had a router table for many years inside my rigid table saw. What I didn't have was dust collection very well on it. Okay, so I took the time and I got the Rockler dust bucket, it's called, and I put that on there. And I actually painted it black. So here we have dust collection here. There'll be dust collection up top at the fence. I don't know how well it'll work. At the very least, it'll get caught in there, which is nice. Okay, and I can vacuum it out of there. But the way Sawstop takes a control box, if I can show you, and let me do it from top. The control box is supposed to mount, here's a seam between the saw and the left extension wing. The control box has a little lip here, and you're supposed to bolt and bolt, and somehow it just doesn't work now, because this was supposed to be a stamped metal instead of cast iron. So I had to jimmy rig that to work, and thankfully it did. But that was frustrating too. It just seems like this control box should have mounted here or here or something. Like, there's got to be a better design of where that should have mounted. But be that as it may, it's fixed now. It seems pretty steady. Thankfully, I found somebody's video picture out there. Actually, it was a picture on a post, and I could see how he did it, and it gave me some ideas about how I have it for those that might do this. It's hard to see. There's a 2x4, and that's married into that and screwed in. Okay, let me get off the floor. The other thing that was a little frustrating, I thought it's gonna be worse, but when you attach this fence here, coming down, sorry. You attach these fence, the holes drop on this. This is a bench dog. It's all right, it was easy enough to drill and attach, so that worked out well. The last thing is, it just seems like this arm, which I like that it moves, should have some type of compression knob here so that I can put it in place and leave it and tighten it, and it will stay there, and it does not. So that's another project for me to figure out. Lastly, as I was putting the dust collection, before I realized I didn't have this, I was just kind of playing with the dust collection. Now, this part of the Sawstop, this technically is supposed to go down there in the base. I don't know if you can see that, forgive me. Let me get down here. Right there. Okay, that's technically where it's going to go. And I should have took video of this before I put all this together. But this is pretty much a 90-degree here, okay? And what I sensed, there is a little bit of scoop in the inside here that is an attempt to make this more of a Y. If you look at any dust collection, okay? That's how a Y should work. Should not be a 90-degree, okay? And they did make an attempt inside, but I noticed that when I was just playing with the dust collection, because this is 4 inch and this is what, probably 1.25 inches, the 95% of the suction was coming out of here, under the table, which is great, but I want strong dust collection on top of the table. So I started playing with a gate, and I realized that if I regulated the flow better, if I had more options and made the 4-inch feel more like 2-inch, it actually drew more equally, okay? So I moved this up here from below, moved it up here, and as you can see, I have this attached to the arm, which is how I did it in the old saw too. So, let me turn it on for you. Again, I wish this would lock in. I'm gonna have to drill that out and put some type of clamp on it or something like that. Okay, so if I wanted to turn on the dust collection, this one is wired. Okay, the dust collection is now on. Forgive me for that, I was just making sure that everything was unplugged, okay? So, that being said, I'm getting decent suction here. I should also be getting suction down here. The saw is off and I can feel a draft of air, which is great. Again, I'm less concerned about down here. I mean, even worst case scenario, when I'm done for the day, I could open that up better and regulate more suction down here to clear it out. I want strong dust collection at the table. And I think that's what this is going to do. Sure sounds like it's gonna. So again, if I wanted to regulate it, I would come up here, turn this little knob, now it's all the way out, tighten it. So now this has got a full 4-inch opening. If I come back here, I should have just left this off. Simplicity, much weaker. Might be strong enough that oddly, let me turn off the dust collector. I don't know if it's my imagination, because I have this part down underneath the table for some time. It seems like it does better just simply because it's up there. I don't know why that would be, but it just does. Okay. So the last thing I will show you is good news. So this is the Woodpecker Saw Gauge. Let me pan down. So obviously in a table saw, you want your miter slot to be parallel to your saw blade, to be parallel to your fence. So this measures the drift, the precision of that. So let's give it a try. I haven't used this in a couple years. I used to spend hours trying to get my other saw to. Okay. So you can see the top there, I'm at zeroed out. It's nice. Okay. And I didn't do any adjustments, so I'm going to give Sawstop some credit. I've been ripping on them for long enough. I didn't do any adjustment to the trunnions. So I mean, these are thousandths of an inch. So I'm pretty happy with that, okay? Now let's flip it around. It's hard to do this with one hand, so forgive me. I just moved my fence over. Gonna lock that fence down. Bring it to the top of the fence. I guess I should have probably moved that up. Maybe we'll redo it. We're going to zero this out. Okay, so this is zeroed out. We're going to go watch the fence. So I would say that was well below. That was anywhere from 0 to 10 thousandths of an inch. I think that's good, right? Let's redo it on the blade. And we're zeroed out pretty much in the middle of the blade towards the front, not all the way to the front. Good enough. It's really good. Okay, really good. So I'll give it to Sawstop on that. And you know, everybody says Sawstop is very high quality. The exception to stand and just some odd design choices. I do believe that the motor box, the trunnions, I think you call them, I think this is pretty true. Haven't done much adjustment on the fence. I did zero out the tape. That's really it. But I think there's opportunity if I had to tweak that. So, I guess I'm happy. I really don't know what other choices there are. I mean, obviously there's Powermatic, you know, there's all kinds of table saw manufacturers. But again, the important things for me were the safety of the brake system and the built-in over-the-arm dust collection. Very important. I mean, if I got a Powermatic, I know the fence would have been great. I know the build quality would have been great. But I really wanted that. So I hope it's worth the money. This thing should outlive me. As I was building it, I said to my son, this is yours someday. I mean, if I had the other one for 19 years, I would think for the price differential, this one will last forever. Thanks for watching.